Hey everyone, it's Justin. Thank you for watching and welcome to my house. That's Justin's house. In this video, I want to show you the Microsoft Azure Sentinel integration with security operations in ServiceNow. I got this set up and I thought it was pretty cool. I do integrations all the time, but this one was a little bit different to set up, and I'm not going to show you how to set it up. The documentation actually on this one is pretty great. There was not much that varied other than I think at one point it said Azure Sentinel and it was Microsoft Sentinel. That was the biggest deal. But let's go ahead and talk through. So what this does is it allows incident ingestion into security incident response into ServiceNow. So I've got it behind me, the security incident response workspace. First, I'm going to go into Microsoft Azure and in my Microsoft Sentinel workspace, and notice I've got no incidents. Now, in theory, this is a SIEM, a cloud-based, a cloud-native SIEM. It should be having rules and alerts and generating incidents on its own. I don't have those set up right now, and but what I can do is I can create an incident and kind of show what that looks like. So let's give this a title. We're going to call this Demo for YouTube, and I'll just put a dash Azure Sentinel. Actually, I think it's Microsoft Azure Sentinel, and get their brand right. Of course, as soon as my video publishes, it'll probably change. And we'll put a description on this showing the integration to ServiceNow. I can't spell because you guys are watching. Integration to ServiceNow. Okay, and I can set the severity. I can set the, we'll just call this informational. Actually, let's call this high. I haven't done a high yet, so let's see what that looks like. This will be new, and we'll put myself as the owner. So assigned to me, and I won't add any tags, and I'll go ahead and create that. Now, when I set up my integration, I set up the polling or ingestion to be every 5 minutes. So I know this at worst is going to take 5 minutes to go over to ServiceNow. At best, it might poll right now and come over immediately, but I'm going to pick up in ServiceNow as soon as that comes over. Okay, everybody, it just came through. I wanted you to see it right away. I've just been sitting here hitting the refresh button. I knew that was going to take a minute or more to come over from Azure Sentinel because of the polling interval I set. I'll show you that when we get there. But let's go ahead and open this security incident. Just got created fresh in my instance. And if you remember, we set the title, the description, and the priority, which I think I have priority or severity. I think we set the severity, and I have severity mapped to priority, but I'll show you the mapping here in a second. So this is what that security incident now looks like. There it is, Demo for YouTube, Microsoft Azure Sentinel. Remember, I set high severity. Let me go back and look. High severity in the, high severity mapped to, and you can tailor all this. It mapped to a critical priority within ServiceNow. The risk scoring stuff automatically assigned a risk score and assigned it to my security analyst group. That's all based on kind of automatic configurations around routing and stuff. And I've got the short description, long description, the ticket number, and the state. Now, when I configured this, I configured it to send comments back and forth on states and on work notes and additional comments. So if the state changes to something, it's going to update the other side. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and move this to contain, and I'm going to put a work note in here. I am locking down the PC. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up here, and we'll go ahead and post that to the work notes. So that's going to go down here in the work notes. Notice we have some previous work notes. Security incident is triggered by the Azure and Sentinel incident. Click here for details. So you can click here and take you Azure Sentinel. I don't want to do that in this browser tab because I've got Azure at a different profile. Here's a link. I actually did this when I did the mapping. I put the URL to the security incident in Microsoft Azure Sentinel in the work notes, so that was just into that, and that's my system kind of tracking things. So that's all the automatic comments, but I did put that on locking down the PC. We can see other stuff we could populate here, and that's obviously going to go over to Microsoft Azure Sentinel, and we can click on this one and view the full details. And we should see an activity log kind of similar to what we were seeing over in ServiceNow. Actually, wow, it came through already. Comment from ServiceNow. I'm locking down the PC. Came right through, and then there's the comments about this was related to a ServiceNow incident, gives the number, and links back to the incident, so you can click on there and go that way. So that's the integration. If I were to close this in either system, it's going to sync up, right? So if I were to take this incident, and I actually haven't done it this way, so we'll see how this goes. We will say it's a false positive because we're testing, and I'll put in testing integration. Not that this is production, anybody cares, but there's just a part of me that has to document correctly. So now this one is documented as status closed and me still as the owner. So if I set the mapping correctly, it should update ServiceNow to a closed status. Right now it's in a state of contain. I never did save that contain state, so let me just go ahead and see if can I reload this. This is always fun in these new workspaces, doing something, I think reload form right here, because I don't want to save that contained state, but I think the state might have got updated or is about to be updated. So while we wait on that state to update, let me show you the actual config that I did for that. So Microsoft as Azure Sentinel, and I'll show you the profile that I set up. So you set up the integration by providing your application and tenant and secret key and stuff, all that secret certificate, and then you set up a profile. And I thought this was important to share with everybody about how this particular one works, not necessarily this piece, but the mapping. So I was able to actually retrieve some recent incidents so I could see the field values that were in here, so I could see like my name and the description, rather than if you choose this one, it just shows all the default fields, and it was hard to kind of tell what these were. So I was able to retrieve a sample of it, and then I was able to drag and drop these into the fields over here. So what I want to highlight for you here is, one, is the amount of things that we have access to as part of the integration. So if I scroll, this scrolls for a while. There is a lot of stuff, a lot of information, and a lot of data coming from Azure Sentinel that we can include on our ticket in ServiceNow. So that's all the source fields. And then over here on the right hand side above my head, this is what was defaulting. So category, configuration item, description, observable, short description, priority, and work notes. Remember on the work notes I said I put the incident URL in there, so that's that mapping I did. And I can map another field. So any field in ServiceNow, you can scroll and see them all. I can do any of this and add it to my form, and then I can come over here and grab a source field and map it over. Now that one I'm doing makes absolutely no sense, but I'm trying to illustrate how easy it was to set up this integration. So it wasn't a bunch of scripting. Actually, I never touched a script in all this. It was dragging and dropping and configuring that. And the last part I'll leave you on is the filtering and aggregating. So I didn't set up any filters or aggregation conditions, but notice I can filter what comes in from Azure Sentinel. So if there's some alerts or some incidents that I don't want in ServiceNow, I can filter them out by setting some conditions. So I just check this box, and then now I can filter on those different fields that are coming from Azure Sentinel to filter them out. And same thing with aggregation conditions. If I'm seeing like multiples of something, I can set some conditions to aggregate that and not create a mess in my ServiceNow system. And one more thing, I was going to show you one more thing. Notice I have my polling increment set to 5 minutes. I'm not production, I'm a demo guy, I'm just testing and stuff like that. You can set a minute here, you can set 30 seconds. It's really up to you what you want to do, but that's how you set it up. Let's go back to the workspace and see if our state has changed. We'll go ahead and reload the form and see if our state has moved from analysis. It hasn't moved from analysis. Now I'm wondering, is it both directions when I close that incident over here? So it's still a status of closed, and let me just refresh and check that activity log and see if we have some notes in the activity log. Incident was closed by Justin Meadows. Closing reason is false positive incorrect alert logic. So that all looks good. I'm just not seeing that update in the actual incident in ServiceNow. Okay, I went back into the configuration because it wasn't working, wasn't updating. And the only thing I didn't show you in the configuration was these additional options. I scrolled down to incident closure updates, and it looks like what I enabled was, hey, if we close it in ServiceNow, what should we do with it in Azure Sentinel? I said close it upon incident closure and set the state, comments, and all that. But that's not what I did. I closed it in Azure Sentinel. So that was my bad, not quite understanding the integration there. So because I did that, I'm going to go ahead and see what happens when I do close this on the ServiceNow side, even though it's already closed on the Azure Sentinel side. So in order to get to close, I got to give it to contain, and then I should have the option for close. I'll go ahead and save, and oh yeah, it's going to make me fill in. Let's see. Wow, this is a new screen. Close the security incident. Next, take the assessment. Optional, next, and then, oh, I was missing the close code. So we'll just say this was false positive, just like we did before, testing the ServiceNow integration. And I'll go ahead and close that. And it's already going to be in a closed state in Azure Sentinel, so I'm not expecting the state to change, but maybe we'll see the comment come through when I look over there. And let's see, incident 2 is closed. This is all on there before. Let me go ahead and refresh the incident, and I'll open the activity log, and no additional update there. But it's still closed, which is a good sign, but I still might have to wait my 5 minutes, so we'll just wait and see. Okay, I just had to wait a couple of seconds, and now you can see after the incident status was changed, we have incident classification was changed to undetermined by an external integration or external application, and it gives my application name in there. That's just a name I made up, and it moved to close. So comment did come through and updated Azure Sentinel, so we've got it back and forth between the two things. I'm interested in the future of why I didn't work the way around. That would have been nice if it's closed in Azure Sentinel. We don't want people still working on it in ServiceNow. But that is the Azure Sentinel integration. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, please subscribe, or share with somebody who you think might be interested in getting their Azure Sentinel incident into ServiceNow with the rest of their security incidents. And until next time, don't forget to always be learning.